7 companies, combined market cap north of $4 trillion. And right now, behind closed conference rooms in Seoul, Tokyo, Cupertino, and Paris, executives at some of the most powerful brands on the planet are reportedly circling the same group of 7 men from South Korea. Here's what most people don't realize about BTS. Their military service wasn't a commercial death sentence. It was a pressure cooker. Global streaming numbers held. Army didn't shrink. It matured, gained purchasing power, and spread deeper into markets across Latin America, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia. The fan base that once crashed ticket websites now crashes entire product launches. So what happens when the most commercially potent act in modern pop culture becomes fully available again, with all 7 members reunited and the world watching? Every major brand already knows the answer. The real question is, who's willing to write the check that matches BTS's actual market value in 2027, and what kind of numbers are we really talking about? From legacy fashion houses to trillion-dollar tech giants, here are the 7 global brands most likely positioning themselves to lock down a deal with BTS, ranked from number 7 to number 1.
Number 7. The house that wants to keep its crown, Louis Vuitton. In April 2021, Louis Vuitton made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the fashion industry and the global entertainment world simultaneously. BTS, all 7 members, were named house ambassadors for Louis Vuitton. Not brand friends, not campaign faces, house ambassadors. In the rigid hierarchy of luxury fashion, that title carries enormous weight. It means the brand isn't just borrowing your face for a seasonal campaign, it's tying your identity to the DNA of the house itself. And Louis Vuitton, a brand founded in 1854 with more than 170 years of legacy behind it, doesn't hand out that designation lightly. To understand why this mattered, you need to understand the landscape Louis Vuitton operates in. LVMH, the parent company, is the largest luxury conglomerate on the planet. Under Chairman and CEO Bernard Arnault, who has personally traded positions with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos on the world's richest person list, LVMH reported revenues exceeding €86 billion in 2023. Louis Vuitton is the crown jewel of that empire, consistently ranked as the most valuable luxury brand in the world by brand valuation firms like Kantar and Interbrand. In 2024, Kantar's Brand Z ranking valued Louis Vuitton at over $65 billion, placing it at the very top of the luxury category globally. When a brand operating at that altitude chooses its ambassadors, every decision goes through layers of strategic analysis involving market data, demographic projections, and long-term brand equity calculations. Before BTS, Louis Vuitton's ambassador strategy leaned heavily on individual talent. Actors, musicians, athletes, selected one by one for specific campaigns or product lines. The decision to appoint an entire group was a strategic departure. It reflected a calculated understanding that BTS doesn't function like a traditional celebrity endorsement. The group's power lies in its collective identity. Each member, RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook, carries a distinct personal brand, aesthetic, and fan base within the larger ARMY ecosystem. By signing all 7, Louis Vuitton effectively gained access to 7 overlapping but distinct consumer demographics in a single deal. The results were immediate and measurable. When BTS attended the Louis Vuitton Men's Fall-Winter Show in Seoul, a show staged at the Jamsugyo Bridge along the Han River, social media engagement for Louis Vuitton exploded. The event generated over 20 million livestream views. Fashion search platform Lyst reported spikes in searches for Louis Vuitton pieces worn by BTS members within hours of each public appearance. When the group appeared at the 64th Grammy Awards in April 2022, dressed entirely in custom Louis Vuitton, the brand's social media impressions surged. individual member outfits became trending topics across Twitter, Weibo, Instagram, and Naver simultaneously, a cross-platform, cross-regional impact that very few endorsement deals in history have ever achieved. What made the partnership strategically brilliant for Louis Vuitton was the geographic alignment. The luxury goods market in Asia-Pacific has been the fastest-growing segment of the global luxury industry for over a decade. According to Bain & Company's annual luxury market study, Chinese consumers alone accounted for roughly 22 to 24% of global luxury spending in recent years, while South Korea has emerged as one of the highest per capita luxury markets in the world. South Koreans spend more on luxury goods per person than consumers in almost any other country. BTS gave Louis Vuitton an organic, culturally authentic bridge into these markets, not as an outsider buying influence, but as a brand genuinely connected to the cultural moment driving Asian consumer behavior globally. But the partnership didn't just serve Louis Vuitton in Asia. BTS's reach extends deep into North America, Europe, Latin America, and the Middle East. ARMY is present in virtually every country with internet access. When BTS wore Louis Vuitton to the United Nations General Assembly, where they delivered speeches on youth empowerment and sustainable development as special presidential envoys for South Korea, the brand was seen in a context that transcended fashion entirely. It entered the space of diplomacy, social impact, and global leadership. That kind of brand association isn't something money can buy through a traditional advertising campaign. It happens only when the ambassador's own identity naturally aligns with values the brand aspires to project.
The financial specifics of the original deal were never publicly disclosed, and that's standard practice in luxury fashion. Brands like Louis Vuitton almost never confirm exact contract figures. But industry analysts and Korean media outlets have speculated that ambassador deals at this level, particularly involving a global act with BTS's proven commercial impact, typically range in the tens of millions of dollars annually. Some estimates from South Korean financial media place the value of the BTS-Louis Vuitton partnership in a range that would make it one of the most lucrative fashion endorsement deals involving a musical act in history. For context, individual luxury brand ambassador deals with top-tier global celebrities are frequently reported in the range of $10 to $30 million per year. A deal involving 7 members with BTS's level of influence would logically sit at the higher end of that spectrum, or beyond it. Now, here's where 2027 enters the picture. BTS's military service obligations, which began with Jin's enlistment in December 2022 and concluded with the final members completing service by June 2025, created a natural pause in the group's collective commercial activities. During that period, individual members pursued solo projects and maintained personal brand partnerships, but group-level endorsements were effectively on hold. Louis Vuitton's own ambassador roster evolved. Individual members like J-Hope and Jimin maintained visible connections with fashion houses during their solo periods, and the luxury landscape shifted as competitors like Dior, Celine, Valentino, and Tiffany & Co. secured individual BTS members for separate deals. This fragmentation created an interesting dynamic. While individual member partnerships proved enormously successful, each member demonstrated the ability to drive sales and engagement independently. Industry observers noted that the collective power of all 7 members together remained untapped during the military service period. The reunification of BTS as a complete group reopens the possibility of a group-level luxury partnership, and Louis Vuitton, having been the first major luxury house to secure that collective arrangement, is widely believed to hold a strategic advantage in any negotiation for a renewed deal. Multiple fashion industry analysts quoted in publications like Business of Fashion and WWD have noted that the value of a BTS group endorsement in 2027 would likely exceed the original 2021 deal significantly. The reasoning is straightforward. First, BTS's cultural footprint didn't shrink during military service. ARMY maintained and even expanded its global reach, with streaming records, album pre-orders, and social media metrics holding at historically high levels.
Second, the luxury market itself has continued to grow, with brands increasing their investment in celebrity and cultural partnerships as a primary strategy for reaching younger, digitally native consumers. Third, the scarcity factor plays a role. BTS's full reunification as a group is a limited window of opportunity, and brands that fail to secure deals during this period risk being shut out entirely. Louis Vuitton's creative direction also supports a renewed partnership. Since the appointment of Pharrell Williams as men's creative director in February 2023, the brand has leaned further into music, cultural crossover, and youth-oriented energy. Pharrell's own history of collaboration with artists and musicians aligns naturally with BTS's creative identity. A renewed BTS partnership under Pharrell's creative vision could produce campaigns, collections, and cultural moments that go far beyond what the initial 2021 collaboration achieved. The infrastructure for a massive deal is already in place. Louis Vuitton has the production capacity, the global retail network spanning over 460 stores worldwide, and the digital marketing apparatus to activate a BTS partnership across every major market simultaneously. HYBE, BTS's parent company, has demonstrated sophisticated brand management capabilities and a clear understanding of how to structure endorsement deals that protect the group's image while maximizing commercial value. The negotiating positions on both sides are strong, which typically drives contract values upward rather than downward. Whether Louis Vuitton ultimately secures a renewed group deal depends on competitive dynamics, specifically how aggressively other luxury and non-luxury brands bid for BTS's collective endorsement. But the relationship foundation already exists, the creative alignment is natural, the commercial logic is overwhelming, and the financial stakes, by every credible industry estimate, point to a contract that could dwarf the original arrangement by a considerable margin. If Louis Vuitton at number 7 represents this level of commercial gravity, wait until you see which brand sits at number 6 and why its connection to BTS is rooted in something even deeper than fashion.
Number 6. The tech giant from home, Samsung. There's a particular kind of power that emerges when the biggest pop act on earth and the biggest tech company in their home country share the same flag. Samsung and BTS aren't just a brand partnership. They're a cultural alignment rooted in national identity, global ambition, and a shared trajectory from South Korean origins to worldwide dominance. And when you examine the actual numbers behind their collaboration, you begin to understand why Samsung is almost certainly not done with BTS. Samsung Electronics is, by virtually every measure, one of the most significant technology companies in human history. Headquartered in Suwon, South Korea, Samsung Electronics posted revenues of approximately 258 trillion Korean won, roughly $200 billion in 2023. It is the world's largest manufacturer of smartphones by unit shipments, the world's largest manufacturer of memory chips, and a dominant force in displays, home appliances, and semiconductor fabrication. The Samsung brand, valued at over $91 billion by Interbrand in 2023, consistently ranks among the top 5 most valuable brands on the planet, sitting alongside Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. This is not a company that needs celebrity endorsements to survive. When Samsung chooses a global ambassador, it's making a precision investment in cultural positioning, targeting specific demographics, markets, and brand perception gaps that traditional advertising alone cannot address. The formal relationship between Samsung and BTS began escalating around 2020 when Samsung released the Galaxy S20 Plus BTS Edition and Galaxy Buds Plus BTS Edition. These weren't subtle, co-branded products. They were drenched in BTS's signature purple, featured the group's heart logo, and came packaged with exclusive photo cards and decorative stickers, elements that spoke directly to ARMY's collector culture. The result was predictable to anyone who understood BTS's commercial pull, and shocking to everyone who didn't. The BTS Edition Galaxy S20 Plus sold out almost immediately in virtually every market where it launched. In South Korea, units were gone within hours.
Online retailers in the United States, United Kingdom, and across Southeast Asia reported the same pattern. Samsung had effectively turned a flagship smartphone into a limited edition collectible, and HYBE responded with the kind of purchasing velocity that most product launches only dream about. But the BTS edition products were just the visible tip of a much larger strategic iceberg. By 2021, BTS was formally positioned as a global brand ambassador for Samsung's Galaxy lineup. This meant more than appearing in advertisements. BTS members were integrated into Samsung's product ecosystem in a way that blurred the line between endorsement and cultural embedding. The group appeared in campaigns for the Galaxy S21 series, the Galaxy Z Flip 3 and Z Fold 3 foldable phones, and subsequent product launches. They featured in Samsung's Galaxy Unpacked events, the company's flagship product reveal presentations, which draw millions of live viewers globally. When BTS appeared at Unpacked, viewership numbers spiked. Social media engagement around Samsung product launches surged measurably during periods when BTS content was integrated into the marketing push. The strategic logic behind Samsung's investment in BTS operates on multiple levels. The most obvious is demographic targeting. Samsung's primary competitive battle in the premium smartphone segment is against Apple's iPhone. While Samsung dominates global smartphone shipments overall, shipping roughly 226 million units in 2023, according to IDC, Apple consistently captures a disproportionate share of the premium segment, particularly among younger consumers in Western markets. BTS gave Samsung a direct channel to precisely the demographic where it needed the most help: globally connected young adults aged 16 to 35 who make purchasing decisions based on cultural affinity and brand identity as much as technical specifications. ARMY doesn't just passively consume content, they actively advocate for the brands their artists endorse. When BTS members were seen using Samsung Galaxy devices in their own content, in behind-the-scenes videos, in live broadcasts on Weverse and VLive, it created an organic product placement ecosystem that no amount of paid advertising could replicate. The second level is geographic. Samsung is a South Korean company. BTS is a South Korean group. In markets across Southeast Asia, South Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America, regions where South Korean cultural exports carry enormous prestige thanks to the broader Hallyu wave, this shared Korean identity creates a compounding effect. Samsung isn't just a tech brand in these markets, it's a symbol of Korean innovation and quality.
BTS isn't just a music group, they're a symbol of Korean cultural achievement. Together, they reinforce each other's brand narratives in a way that feels authentic rather than manufactured. This is particularly valuable in markets like India, Indonesia, the Philippines, Brazil, and Turkey, where Samsung faces intense competition from Chinese smartphone manufacturers like Xiaomi, Oppo, and Vivo, and where cultural differentiation can be as important as price competition. The financial dimensions of the Samsung-BTS partnership have never been officially disclosed in precise terms, which is standard for deals of this magnitude. However, South Korean business media, including outlets like Mail Business Newspaper and Korea Economic Daily, have reported estimated figures that place the partnership's value in the range of tens of billions of Korean won, equivalent to tens of millions of US dollars annually. For context, Samsung's total marketing and advertising expenditure typically exceeds $10 billion per year, making it one of the largest advertising spenders on Earth. A BTS partnership, even at the higher end of reported estimates, represents a strategically targeted allocation within that massive budget, a precision instrument rather than a blunt force expenditure. During BTS's military service period, the group-level Samsung partnership naturally entered a holding pattern. Individual members pursued solo activities, and Samsung continued its marketing operations with other ambassadors and campaigns. But the infrastructure of the relationship, the corporate contacts, the creative frameworks, the proven commercial track record didn't disappear. It sat in reserve, waiting for the moment when all 7 members would be available again. That moment is now. And the competitive landscape Samsung faces in 2027 makes a renewed BTS partnership arguably more strategically valuable than the original one. The premium smartphone market has become even more competitive. Apple's iPhone continues to dominate the high-end in key Western markets. Chinese manufacturers have pushed further upmarket with increasingly sophisticated devices. Samsung's strategy of differentiating through cultural relevance and brand desirability rather than competing solely on specifications and price requires exactly the kind of global cultural firepower that BTS provides. There's also the matter of Samsung's expanding ecosystem strategy. The company isn't just selling phones anymore. It's selling an interconnected lifestyle across smartphones, tablets, wearables like the Galaxy Watch and Galaxy Ring, earbuds like the Galaxy Buds, smart home devices, and services like Samsung Health and Samsung Pay. A BTS partnership in 2027 wouldn't just move phone units, it would serve as an entry point to pull millions of young consumers into Samsung's entire ecosystem. The precedent already exists. The BTS edition Galaxy Buds proved that ARMY will enthusiastically adopt ecosystem products when they carry the group's endorsement. Scale that approach across Samsung's full product range, and the commercial potential becomes enormous. Industry analysts tracking the Korean entertainment and technology sectors have noted that HYBE Corporation, BTS's parent company, has become increasingly sophisticated in structuring brand deals. HYBE's own revenue from advertising and merchandise partnerships has grown substantially, and the company's management has publicly discussed the strategic value of group-level versus individual-level brand partnerships. A renewed Samsung deal involving all 7 BTS members would likely be structured differently from the original arrangement, potentially encompassing broader product integration, co-developed content, exclusive digital experiences through platforms like Weverse, and possibly even co-designed limited edition products that go beyond the scope of the 2020 BTS edition releases. The Korean dimension adds another layer. Samsung and BTS are both sources of immense national pride in South Korea. Their partnership carries symbolic weight beyond commercial metrics. It represents the convergence of Korea's 2 most successful global exports, technology and culture. The South Korean government has actively promoted both the tech industry and the Korean wave as pillars of its soft power strategy. A high-profile Samsung-BTS reunion partnership in 2027 would resonate not just commercially but culturally, both domestically and internationally. The numbers, the strategy, the cultural logic, and the competitive necessity all point in the same direction. Samsung has every reason to pursue a renewed partnership with BTS, and the value of that deal, measured against the original collaboration's proven ROI and the expanded opportunities of 2027, would almost certainly exceed previous figures by a significant margin. But if a Korean tech giant already sees this much value in BTS, imagine what happens when the world's most recognized beverage brand enters the conversation. And that's exactly who sits at number 5.
Number 5. The beverage that owns the world, Coca-Cola. There is a very short list of brands on this planet that genuinely need no introduction in any country, any language, any culture. Coca-Cola sits at the top of that list. The red and white script logo is recognized by an estimated 94% of the world's population. The company operates in more than 200 countries and territories, more than the United Nations has member states. And when a brand with that kind of universal presence chooses a global campaign partner, it isn't looking for someone who's popular in one region or trending for one season. It's looking for the rarest thing in marketing, a name that transcends borders the same way its own product does. BTS is one of the very few acts in modern history that meets that standard, and Coca-Cola already knows it firsthand. The connection between BTS and Coca-Cola isn't hypothetical. It has a proven track record. In 2018, Coca-Cola selected BTS as campaign ambassadors for its global marketing push around the FIFA World Cup in Russia. This was not a regional deal confined to South Korea or Asia. It was a multinational campaign that placed BTS's faces and voices alongside one of the most watched sporting events on Earth.
The 2018 World Cup drew a cumulative global television audience of over 3.5 billion viewers across the tournament. Coca-Cola, as one of FIFA's longest-standing corporate partners, a relationship dating back to 1978, uses the World Cup as its premier global marketing platform. Selecting BTS for this campaign meant Coca-Cola's internal marketing leadership had already evaluated the group's cross-cultural appeal, demographic reach, and brand safety profile at the highest level, and concluded they were a fit for the company's most visible global stage. The campaign delivered. In South Korea and across Asian markets, limited edition BTS Coca-Cola packaging, cans and bottles featuring the members' images and the group's branding, generated the kind of consumer frenzy that beverage companies rarely see outside of product launches. Convenience stores, supermarkets, and vending machines stocked with BTS edition Coca-Cola products saw accelerated sell-through rates. Collectors drove secondary market demand, with unopened BTS Coca-Cola cans appearing on resale platforms at multiples of their retail price. Social media engagement around the campaign outperformed Coca-Cola's typical benchmarks for celebrity partnership content, particularly in markets across East Asia, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, regions where both Coca-Cola consumption and BTS fandom intersect at high density. To understand why Coca-Cola would be circling BTS again for 2027, you need to understand the specific strategic challenge Coca-Cola faces in this era. The Coca-Cola Company reported net revenues of approximately $45.8 billion in 2023. It remains the dominant non-alcoholic beverage company globally, with a portfolio that extends far beyond its flagship cola to include Sprite, Fanta, Minute Maid, Dasani, Costa Coffee, and dozens of regional brands. But the company has been navigating a fundamental demographic shift for over a decade. Younger consumers, Gen Z and younger millennials, are increasingly health-conscious, gravitating toward water, functional beverages, low-sugar options, and alternatives to traditional carbonated soft drinks. Coca-Cola's response has been twofold: diversifying its product portfolio and investing heavily in cultural relevance marketing to maintain emotional connections with younger demographics, even as consumption patterns evolve. This is precisely where BTS becomes strategically critical. Coca-Cola's marketing philosophy has always centered on associating its brand with moments of joy, togetherness, and shared cultural experience. The company's historic roster of celebrity partners reads like a hall of fame of global pop culture. Michael Jackson in the 1980s, Britney Spears and Beyoncé in the 2000s, Taylor Swift and Selena Gomez in more recent years. Each partnership was designed to anchor Coca-Cola to the cultural moment of its era, ensuring the brand remained relevant to the generation driving consumer behavior. In 2027, BTS represents that cultural anchor more convincingly than perhaps any other act on the planet. ARMY spans every continent, every age bracket from teenagers to adults in their 40s, and, critically for Coca-Cola, every economic tier, from premium markets to emerging economies where Coca-Cola generates significant volume. The geographic alignment between Coca-Cola's business priorities and BTS's fan base is almost uncanny. Coca-Cola derives substantial revenue from markets across Asia-Pacific, Latin America, Africa, and the Middle East, regions that are also among BTS's strongest territories for streaming, social media engagement, and merchandise sales. In India, where Coca-Cola commands a massive and rapidly growing fan base,
In the Philippines, Indonesia, Brazil, Mexico, and Turkey, all critical Coca-Cola volume markets, BTS's popularity is deeply embedded in youth culture. A global BTS campaign wouldn't require Coca-Cola to tailor different celebrity partners for different regions. BTS works everywhere simultaneously, which is an extraordinarily rare efficiency in global marketing. Coca-Cola's annual marketing expenditure is staggering. The company typically spends between $4 and $5 billion per year on advertising and marketing activities globally. Within that budget, marquee celebrity partnerships represent a relatively small but disproportionately impactful allocation. The return on investment for a well-executed global celebrity campaign is measured not just in direct sales lift, though that matters, but in brand equity metrics, awareness, favorability, purchase intent, and social media share of voice. By every one of these metrics, BTS has consistently outperformed industry benchmarks. Earned media value alone, the dollar equivalent of organic social media impressions, press coverage, and word of mouth generated by a partnership without paid amplification for a BTS collaboration, routinely reaches figures that dwarf the actual cost of the endorsement deal. The structure of a potential 2027 Coca-Cola BTS partnership would likely look different from the 2018 World Cup campaign. Coca-Cola has evolved its marketing approach significantly in recent years, placing greater emphasis on digital-first content, experiential activations, and platform-specific campaigns designed for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and emerging social platforms. BTS and HYBE have simultaneously developed sophisticated digital content capabilities through Weverse and their extensive YouTube presence. A 2027 collaboration could integrate BTS into Coca-Cola's digital ecosystem in ways that weren't technically feasible or strategically prioritized in 2018. Think interactive content, augmented reality experiences tied to product packaging, exclusive behind-the-scenes content unlocked through purchase verification, and coordinated global fan engagement events that merge Coca-Cola's physical distribution network with BTS's digital community infrastructure. There's also the sustainability angle. Coca-Cola has made significant public commitments to sustainability, including its World Without Waste initiative, targeting 100% recyclable packaging and collection of a bottle or can for every one sold by 2030. BTS, through their messaging at the United Nations and their partnership with UNICEF's Love Myself campaign, which raised over 3.6 billion Korean won, approximately $2.7 million, for UNICEF's anti-violence programs, has established credible credentials in social impact communication. A partnership that combines Coca-Cola's sustainability messaging with BTS's proven ability to mobilize young people around social causes could create campaign narratives that resonate far beyond traditional product advertising. The financial value of such a deal is difficult to estimate precisely without insider knowledge, but contextual data points provide a framework. Major global celebrity endorsement deals with Coca-Cola have historically been reported in the range of $5 to $20 million annually, depending on scope, exclusivity, and geographic coverage. A deal with BTS, covering all 7 members, spanning multiple product lines, and activating across 200-plus markets, would logically command a premium above standard individual celebrity deals. Korean entertainment industry analysts have suggested that BTS's group-level endorsement value for a top-tier global brand in the post-military service era could reach figures that set new benchmarks for the industry. When you factor in Coca-Cola's marketing budget capacity, the proven ROI from the 2018 collaboration, and the intensified competition among brands seeking BTS partnerships in 2027, the conditions exist for a contract that would rank among the most valuable celebrity beverage endorsements ever structured. Coca-Cola has spent over a century building the most universally recognized brand on Earth. BTS has spent a decade building the most passionately devoted global fan base in modern entertainment. The 2018 partnership proved these two forces amplify each other. The question for 2027 isn't whether the strategic logic supports a new deal. It clearly does. The question is whether Coca-Cola moves fast enough to secure it before competitors in adjacent categories make their own plays. And speaking of competitors making plays, the brand at number 4 hasn't partnered with BTS yet, but the sheer scale of what that collaboration could look like has the entire sportswear industry watching closely.
Number 4, the swoosh's unclaimed holy grail, Nike. In the history of athletic apparel and global sportswear, Nike has built a market capitalization that has surpassed $100 billion not merely by selling performance footwear, but by mastering the art of cultural capture. Headquartered in Beaverton, Oregon, Nike reported fiscal 2023 revenues of $51.2 billion, maintaining its position as the undisputed leader of the global athletic footwear and apparel market. For over 4 decades, Nike's growth strategy has relied on identifying singular cultural figures who embody peak human achievement, cultural momentum, or subcultural authority, and tethering their identities to the iconic swoosh. From Michael Jordan in 1984, a deal that birthed the Jordan brand, which alone generated over $6.6 billion in wholesale revenue in fiscal 2023, to Serena Williams, Cristiano Ronaldo, LeBron James, Travis Scott, and Drake, Nike's roster reads like a definitive catalog of modern athletic and pop cultural influence. Yet, as the global market turns toward 2027, an glaring anomaly remains on Nike's corporate ledger. Despite being the most commercially dominant musical act of the 21st century, BTS has never signed an official group endorsement deal with Nike. For sneaker collectors, fashion analysts, and Wall Street investors tracking consumer discretionary spending, this unfulfilled alignment represents one of the most lucrative unclaimed opportunities in modern branding. To understand why a potential Nike and BTS partnership is being discussed in corporate boardrooms as a multi-hundred-million-dollar opportunity, one must first analyze BTS's historical trajectory through the sportswear industry. The group's relationship with athletic apparel began in 2015 when they signed an endorsement deal with Puma in South Korea. At the time, BTS was a rapidly rising act within Asia, and Puma utilized the group to anchor its youth lifestyle marketing across the region. By 2018, as BTS achieved historic chart-topping success on the Billboard 200 with Love Yourself tier, Puma expanded the partnership into a global campaign, releasing co-branded sneakers such as the Puma Basket Patent BTS. The commercial lift was immediately evident, helping Puma re-establish its footprint among younger demographics in both Western and Asian markets. However, in late 2019, as BTS's global footprint expanded beyond traditional pop star boundaries, Italian-founded Korean sportswear brand Fila secured BTS as its exclusive global brand ambassadors. The timing for Fila was transformative. Under the stewardship of Fila Korea, which acquired the global rights to the brand in 2007, Fila was undergoing a massive brand revival centered around retro 1990s aesthetics and chunky streetwear sneakers. The BTS appointment catalyzed that revival on a global scale. Through campaigns like One World, One Fila, Voyager Collection, and Project 7, BTS was featured prominently across Fila's retail stores, digital platforms, and billboard campaigns worldwide. Financial filings from Fila Holdings revealed substantial revenue gains during the initial years of the partnership, with consolidated revenue reaching over 3.7 trillion Korean won, approximately $3 billion. In 2021, the partnership demonstrated that BTS possessed the rare ability to take a secondary player in the sportswear space and elevate its lifestyle relevance to compete directly with Tier 1 global brands. The Fila contract naturally concluded its primary multi-year life cycle as the members prepared for their military enlistments between 2022 and 2025. That conclusion cleared the board. For the first time in nearly a decade, as the group prepares for its full-scale 2027 reunion, BTS enters the market without an exclusive group-level commitment to a sportswear manufacturer. This brings the narrative back to Beaverton. While Nike has not yet held an official group contract with BTS, an organic, unscripted relationship between the members and Nike footwear has existed in plain sight for years. Members like RM, J-Hope, and Suga are widely documented sneaker collectors whose personal wardrobes feature some of the rarest and most historically significant Nike footwear in existence. RM has frequently been photographed wearing rare collaborations, including the Tom Sachs x Nike Craft General Purpose shoe, Travis Scott Air Jordan 1s, and pieces from the late Virgil Abloh's legendary The 10 collection with Off-White. J-Hope's street-style wardrobe routinely integrates high-concept Nike footwear, from SB Dunks to limited-edition Air Force Ones. During dance practice videos uploaded to Bangtan, videos that regularly accumulate between 20 million and 100 million views, the members are consistently seen wearing Nike performance and lifestyle sneakers purely by personal choice. In the world of fashion economics, this organic usage carries immense financial implications. Data from sneaker resale platforms such as StockX, GOAT, and eBay demonstrates a measurable BTS effect on secondary market valuations. When a member of BTS is spotted wearing a specific, non-promoted pair of Nike sneakers in an unedited airport photo or a Weverse live stream, search volume for that model typically surges by several 100% within 24 hours. Resale prices on secondary platforms frequently experience immediate price appreciation, as fans and casual observers rush to acquire the exact colorway. Nike has received billions of organic digital impressions from BTS over the last decade without having paid a single dollar in direct contract fees. If an organic, unpaid association can move secondary markets, what happens when Nike formally activates its global infrastructure behind a fully synchronized BTS collaboration in 2027? The strategic rationale for Nike to pursue this contract in 2027 is rooted in structural shifts within the global retail environment. Following several years of supply chain realignments, shifting direct-to-consumer (DTC) strategies, and intensifying competition from emerging running and lifestyle brands like On Running and Hoka, Nike has publicly signaled a renewed focus on culture-defining lifestyle products and pinnacle brand moments. While Nike maintains an iron grip on performance athletics through endorsement deals with league MVPs and Olympic federations, the lifestyle and streetwear segment remains the primary engine driving high-margin growth and brand heat. In recent years, Nike's musical collaborations, most notably Travis Scott's Cactus Jack line and Drake's Nocta brand, have generated astronomical consumer demand, selling out within seconds on Nike's SNKRS application and commanding massive premiums on resale markets. However, a BTS collaboration would operate on a scale that fundamentally eclipses individual artist partnerships. Rather than designing a single capsule for one artist, a Nike x BTS partnership could be structured around 7 distinct creative perspectives anchored by a unified global campaign. Consider the operational possibilities. Nike's design team in Beaverton working the distribution mechanism alone would redefine retail metrics. Nike's digital ecosystem, anchored by the Nike app, the SNKRS platform, and a retail network of over 1,000 directly operated stores worldwide, provides the exact technological pipeline required to handle the traffic volume generated by BTS drops. When Nike launches high-demand items on the SNKRS app, the platform processes millions of concurrent entry requests per minute using sophisticated bot mitigation algorithms. Army's purchasing power, combined with Nike's digital infrastructure, would turn every product release into a global event. Industry analysts estimate that a dedicated Nike x BTS signature footwear and apparel capsule could realistically generate between $200 million and $500 million in gross merchandise value within its first full year of release, depending on production volume and distribution breadth. Financially, a contract of this magnitude would sit in the upper echelon of sports and entertainment history. Industry benchmarks for top-tier athletic endorsements provide a clear baseline. Nike currently pays top global athletes like LeBron James and Cristiano Ronaldo estimated annual figures exceeding $20 million to $30 million per year under long-term or lifetime structures. Drake's Nocta arrangement and Travis Scott's partnership involve complex profit-sharing and royalty structures tied directly to net sales performance. For a collective group deal covering 7 members with BTS's unparalleled conversion rates, financial experts speculate that a competitive bid in 2027 would require an annual base commitment ranging between $30 million and $50 million, augmented by sales royalties on co-branded merchandise. Over a multi-year term, the total contract value could easily push past the $200 million mark, making it one of the largest corporate endorsement contracts ever negotiated in the history of the apparel industry. Beyond direct footwear sales, the geographic alignment offers Nike critical strategic advantages. Asia-Pacific and Greater China represent two of Nike's most important long-term growth territories, accounting for over $12 billion in combined annual revenue. While Nike has faced fluctuating growth dynamics in these regions due to macroeconomic headwinds and local brand competition, BTS's cultural authority across China, Japan, South Korea, and Southeast Asia remains unmatched. A unified Nike x BTS initiative would serve as a powerful catalyst to reinforce Nike's market dominance across Asia while simultaneously driving lifestyle heat in North America and Western Europe. As 2027 approaches, Nike's executive leadership faces a clear choice. They can allow BTS's commercial power in the lifestyle space to be claimed by a rival sportswear manufacturer, or they can leverage their unparalleled capital reserves and design heritage to execute the ultimate cultural merger. If Nike decides to write the check, it won't just be buying an endorsement, it will be securing the most potent consumer engine in modern pop culture to lead the next era of global streetwear. Yet, as massive as Nike's potential play appears on paper, there is a legendary automotive titan back in Seoul that has already built a deep, historical alliance with BTS. And their next move at number 3 could redefine how luxury and mobility collide on the world stage. Number 3. The mobility powerhouse driving the future, Hyundai. In November 2018, an event occurred in the global automotive industry that caught industry analysts completely off guard. At the Los Angeles Auto Show, Hyundai Motor Company unveiled its brand new flagship three-row SUV, the Hyundai Palisade. Automakers typically launch flagship vehicles using legacy racing drivers, high-profile automotive journalists, or Hollywood actors. Instead, Hyundai made a calculated move that signaled a fundamental shift in its global marketing philosophy. They named BTS as the global brand ambassadors for the Palisade. What followed is still studied in business schools as a textbook case of cultural marketing transforming a product's market trajectory. Within days of the LA Auto Show reveal, Hyundai's reservation system in South Korea was overwhelmed. The domestic demand for the Palisade was so intense that Hyundai recorded over 59,000 pre-orders in Korea alone within the first few months, far exceeding the company's annual domestic production targets for the vehicle. Customers were placed on waiting lists that stretched from 6 months to over a year. In North America, a market historically dominated by domestic American SUVs, the Palisade became an instant commercial triumph, consistently selling at or above sticker price and helping Hyundai capture a premium market segment it had struggled to penetrate for decades. To understand why Hyundai is positioned at number 3 on this list and why corporate insiders expect the company to make a massive push for a renewed exclusive contract in 2027, you must first look at the sheer scale of the Hyundai Motor Group. Headquartered in Seoul, South Korea, Hyundai Motor Company, alongside its subsidiary Kia and premium brand Genesis, forms the third largest automotive group in the world by vehicle sales volume, behind only Toyota and the Volkswagen Group. In 2023, Hyundai Motor Group reported global sales of over 7.3 million vehicles, generating consolidated revenues exceeding 162 trillion Korean won, approximately $123 billion for Hyundai Motor Company alone. When Hyundai works with BTS, this is not an athletic brand selling $50 t-shirts or a beverage company selling $2 cans. This is industrial titan selling $40,000 automobiles and multi-billion-dollar clean energy infrastructures. The financial stakes, contract values, and corporate integration operate at an entirely different tier of magnitude. The initial Palisade campaign was only the beginning of what evolved into a multi-year, deeply integrated strategic alliance. In 2020, Hyundai expanded the scope of its work with BTS beyond individual vehicle endorsements and placed the group at the absolute center of its most important strategic initiative of the decade, the launch of its dedicated electric vehicle brand, IONIQ, and its global sustainability campaign, Because of You. Automakers spend billions of dollars attempting to communicate complex technological transitions, such as moving from internal combustion engines to electric powertrains and hydrogen fuel cell technology, to a public that can often be skeptical or disinterested. Hyundai solved this challenge by collaborating with BTS to produce dedicated, high production value music tracks and global campaigns centered on environmental stewardship. In August 2020, Hyundai and BTS released the official brand song IONIQ, I'm On It. The accompanying music video wasn't a standard commercial with a logo slapped on the end. It was a sleek, cinematic creative project where each member represented different aspects of future mobility, eco-conscious living, and personal freedom. The song was distributed globally across streaming platforms and YouTube, accumulating tens of millions of organic views and streams. Through this single initiative, Hyundai accomplished what traditional automotive advertising rarely achieves. It built emotional resonance and brand affinity for its EV lineup among Gen Z and millennial consumers years before many of them were even entering their peak car buying ages. When the Hyundai IONIQ 5 launched in 2021, winning World Car of the Year, World Electric Vehicle of the Year, and World Car Design of the Year at the 2022 World Car Awards. The foundational brand awareness had already been established across a global audience of hundreds of millions. The partnership extended even further into global diplomacy and environmental initiatives. For Earth Day campaigns and Earth Day initiatives hosted at the United Nations, Hyundai and BTS collaborated on the Global Hydrogen Campaign, promoting zero-emission hydrogen fuel cell technology through Hyundai's Nexo vehicle platform. When BTS traveled to New York as special presidential envoys for South Korea in September 2021, Hyundai provided hydrogen-powered Nexo vehicles for their transport, aligning the brand with global sustainable development goals on the world's most visible diplomatic stage. The financial ROI of this relationship for Hyundai has been extraordinary. Brand valuation firm Interbrand reported that Hyundai's global brand value grew steadily throughout the period of the BTS partnership, surpassing $20 billion in 2023 and ranking as one of the fastest-growing automotive brands globally. While many factors contribute to an automaker's overall brand valuation, including engineering quality, design improvements, and supply chain management, Hyundai's executive leadership has repeatedly acknowledged that its global cultural partnerships, led by BTS, played a decisive role in shifting public perception of Hyundai from a budget car manufacturer to an innovative, premium leader in future mobility. So why is 2027 a pivotal crossroads for Hyundai and BTS? The global automotive industry in 2027 is entering what analysts call the Mobility 2.0 transition. The period between 2027 and 2030 is when major global markets, including the European Union, key U.S. states like California, and major Asian metropolises, are enacting aggressive regulatory shifts favoring zero-emission vehicles. Concurrently, automakers are transitioning from traditional car manufacturers into software-defined vehicle, SDV, and smart mobility providers, incorporating autonomous driving technology, artificial intelligence, urban air mobility, and connected car ecosystems. Hyundai has already announced investment plans exceeding $80 billion through 2030 to fund its electric vehicle transition, battery production facilities, including massive meta plant, gigafactories in Georgia, USA, software development, and robotics initiatives through its acquisition of Boston Dynamics. To monetize these massive capital investments, Hyundai needs to capture the lifetime loyalty of the generation currently stepping into their prime earning and purchasing years. By 2027, the millions of young fans who grew up listening to BTS during the group's rise between 2016 and 2022 are moving into their late 20s, 30s, and early 40s. They're starting families, advancing in their careers, buying homes, and purchasing new vehicles. Securing BTS for a long-term, exclusive global mobility contract in 2027 would give Hyundai an unprecedented advantage in locking down this demographic precisely at the moment their purchasing power hits its peak. A renewed partnership would not merely focus on traditional car commercials. Industry observers predict a 2027 deal would position BTS as global ambassadors for Hyundai's entire ecosystem of future lifestyle products, spanning Ioniq electric vehicles, Genesis luxury platforms, Boston Dynamics robotics integrations, smart city mobility solutions, and custom digital experiences integrated directly into vehicle infotainment systems. The financial structure of an exclusive automotive contract at this level reflects the vast capital reserves of the industry. Automotive global ambassador deals involving top-tier talent over multi-year terms are among the highest-paying in the entire corporate sector. While individual celebrity car endorsements frequently command $5 million to $15 million per year, an exclusive, multi-year group contract for all 7 members of BTS, encompassing global digital rights, vehicle placement, public appearances, and co-created brand content, would realistically be valued between $40 million and $60 million annually. Over a 3 to 5 year agreement, the total package could approach or exceed $200 million. Furthermore, the national corporate dynamic cannot be ignored. Hyundai is one of South Korea's premier chaebols, industrial conglomerates. The pride associated with South Korea's leading industrial power partnering with its leading cultural export creates a powerful alignment of corporate interest and national prestige. Both organizations understand the cultural weight they carry on the international stage, and Hyundai's management has historically demonstrated a deep respect for BTS's artistic autonomy and brand integrity. Hyundai has already proved that it knows how to work with BTS at scale. They have the capital, the global infrastructure, and an urgent strategic requirement to dominate the electric and software-defined vehicle market in the late 2020s. As impressive as Hyundai's multi-billion-dollar automotive empire is, the brand sitting at number 2 operates in a world of pure, unadulterated exclusivity, where products are so scarce that money alone often isn't enough to buy them, and where a potential partnership with BTS has collector markets holding their breath. Number 2. The ultimate symbol of prestige, Rolex. In the rarefied era of horological luxury, there is a distinct boundary that separates standard luxury products from immortal status symbols. At the very center of that exclusive realm stands Rolex. Headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and operating as a private foundation controlled by the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, Rolex is a brand that operates by entirely different rules than the rest of the corporate world. It does not publish quarterly earnings reports to satisfy public shareholders, it does not chase volume, and it famously manufactures its timepieces in controlled numbers that fall far short of worldwide demand. According to annual industry estimates published by Morgan Stanley and Lux Consult, Rolex generated an estimated retail sales volume of 10.1 billion Swiss francs, approximately $11.5 billion US. In 2023, capturing an astonishing 30% of the total global market share for Swiss luxury watches. To put that in perspective, Rolex's annual revenue is larger than that of its top 4 luxury watch competitors, Cartier, Omega, Audemars Piguet, and Patek Philippe combined. Yet, despite its overwhelming market dominance, Rolex maintains one of the most conservative, highly selective ambassador strategies in human history. Historically known as Rolex testimonies, the individuals selected to wear the crown are chosen not merely for fame, but for historical prestige, enduring elegance, and peerless mastery in their respective disciplines. Rolex's roster includes classical music virtuosos like Yo-Yo Ma and Placido Domingo, tennis legends like Roger Federer, golf icons like Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods, and cinematic titans like James Cameron and Martin Scorsese. Rolex does not chase viral internet trends. It invests in heritage that spans generations. So why has the whisper of a potential Rolex and BTS collaboration in 2027 generated such intense speculation among luxury market analysts, horological experts, and global brand strategists? To understand the mechanics behind this rumor, one must first look at the unscripted, organic obsession that BTS members have maintained with Rolex timepieces throughout their careers. Long before individual members were appointed as ambassadors for various high fashion houses, BTS members used their first major royalty payouts to purchase vintage and modern Rolex watches. For young artists navigating an explosive rise to international fame, acquiring a Rolex was not just a fashion choice, it was an age-old milestone signaling that they had officially arrived at the pinnacle of their profession. Across thousands of archival photos, music videos, press conferences, and airport appearances, horological collectors have cataloged an extraordinary collection of Rolex timepieces worn by the members. RM has frequently been spotted wearing rare, high-complication Rolexes, including the Day-Date 40 in platinum with an ice blue diagonal motif dial and the classic Day-Date in 18K yellow gold with an olive green dial. Suga's collection includes the iconic Rolex Submariner Date, the Rolex masterpiece in white gold with diamond bezel accents, and various classic oyster perpetuals. J-Hope's watch collection features some of the most sought-after pieces in horology, including custom gem-set Rolex Datejusts and the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak alongside classic Rolex Cosmograph Daytonas. Jimin has routinely worn the classic Rolex Datejust 41 in stainless steel and yellow gold, while V and Jungkook have been documented wearing classic oyster perpetual models, the Rolex Daytona, and custom vintage iterations. When BTS performed at sold-out stadiums from Wembley Stadium in London to Rose Bowl in Los Angeles, millions of fans saw these timepieces glowing under the stage lights. Just as with sneaker culture, horological media outlets such as Hodinkee, Watch Pro, and Revolution magazine have frequently published detailed breakdowns analyzing the personal watch collections of BTS. This organic exposure introduced high-end Swiss horology to an entire generation of younger, digitally native consumers who had previously viewed wristwatches as an obsolete technology in the era of smartphones. This brings us to the strategic dilemma that Rolex faces as it plans its corporate positioning for the late 2020s and early 2030s. The global luxury watch market is experiencing a profound generational transition. According to consumer data from Deloitte's annual Swiss watch industry study, Gen Z and millennial buyers represent the fastest-growing demographic of luxury watch purchasers worldwide. However, their pathways to brand discovery are completely different from those of previous generations. They are not reading traditional print publications or attending legacy equestrian events where Rolex traditionally advertises. They are discovering watch culture through digital platforms, music, contemporary art, and global pop icons. While Rolex commands unrivaled brand prestige among older demographics, maintaining that dominance among next-generation wealth requires intentional cultural stewardship. In recent years, competing Swiss luxury houses have aggressively courted K-pop royalty to anchor their youth market strategies. LVMH-owned brands like Tiffany & Company signed Jimin as a global brand ambassador, while Bulgari signed Blackpink's Lisa, and Cartier secured BTS's V as the face of its Panther de Cartier campaign. These individual partnerships demonstrated that Korean pop icons could sell multi-thousand-dollar fine jewelry and high horology pieces with unprecedented conversion rates. When V's campaign for Cartier was officially announced, high traffic demand caused traffic spikes across Cartier's e-commerce servers, and the specific $26,000 Panther necklace featured in the campaign sold out across multiple online regional hubs almost immediately. Rolex, watching these market dynamics unfold, recognizes a fundamental reality. While individual member partnerships with rival luxury brands have proved massively successful, an exclusive group-level partnership with BTS in 2027 remains the ultimate uncaptured crown jewel of the horological world. What would an official Rolex and BTS partnership look like in practice? It is strictly forbidden by Rolex corporate culture to create cheap, mass-market co-branded novelties. You will never see a plastic Rolex with a logo stamped on the dial. First, Rolex could formally induct BTS into its prestigious testimony family, positioning all 7 members alongside Roger Federer and Martin Scorsese as global patrons of culture, music, and artistic discipline. Second, Rolex could leverage its extensive philanthropic programs, such as the Rolex Perpetual Music Initiative, launched in 2020 to support musicians and preserve global musical heritage. By partnering with BTS to fund music education programs, classical and contemporary music academies, and young artist mentorships across Asia, Latin America, and underserved global communities. Third, on the product side, if Rolex were to explore a bespoke horological creation, it would be executed with extreme subtlety and artisan mastery. Imagine a piece created within Rolex's pinnacle off-catalog Day-Date 40 or Cosmograph Daytona series, featuring bespoke stone dials, such as natural purple amethyst or lapis lazuli, paired with subtle, hand-engraved case-back inscriptions honoring the group's historical journey. Such timepieces would not be sold in standard retail cases. They would be produced in micro quantities for elite collectors, charity auctions, and the members themselves, instantly becoming legendary grails within the auction rooms of Christie's, Sotheby's, and Phillips. From a financial perspective, a Rolex contract operates under unique conditions. Because Rolex is owned by a private non-profit foundation, it does not publicly disclose its ambassador budgets. However, industry estimates suggest that top-tier lifetime or multi-year Rolex testimony contracts, such as Roger Federer's long-standing deal, which has been reported to be worth upwards of $15 million per year, are among the most prestigious and stable financial arrangements in sports and entertainment. For a historic group deal in 2027 covering all 7 members, industry analysts speculate that an exclusive multi-year agreement could command a base value of $25 million to $40 million annually. But for the members of BTS, the value of a Rolex contract isn't measured solely in money. It is measured in ultimate corporate validation. Being formally named a Rolex testimony signifies that an artist is no longer just a pop star of the current moment, but an enduring cultural institution recognized by the most conservative luxury house on earth. Rolex has spent over a century representing the ultimate award for personal triumph. BTS has spent a decade rewriting what is possible for Asian artists on the global stage. The alignment of these two institutions in 2027 would send a signal that would echo across the luxury world for decades to come. Yet, as extraordinary as a Rolex partnership would be, there is one final titan standing at the absolute top of this list, a tech giant whose market capitalization dwarfs entire national economies, and whose potential alliance with BTS at number 1 could trigger the single largest commercial earthquake in entertainment history. Number 1, the trillion-dollar titan Apple. At the very top of global commerce stands a company that has fundamentally reshaped how human beings communicate, consume media, create art, and navigate daily existence. Apple Incorporated, headquartered in Cupertino, California, Apple is not merely a technology company, it is the most valuable corporate enterprise in human history. With a market capitalization that has frequently surged past $3 trillion and annual revenues exceeding $383 billion in 2023, Apple possesses financial reserves, technological infrastructure, and brand equity that eclipse those of entire sovereign nations. For decades, Apple's relationship with the global music industry has been foundational to its identity. From the launch of the iPod in 2001 and the iTunes Store in 2003, which single-handedly saved the music business from digital piracy, to the launch of Apple Music in 2015 and the acquisition of Beats by Dre for $3 billion, Apple has consistently positioned itself as the premier technology platform for music creators and listeners worldwide. Apple does not engage in traditional celebrity endorsement deals where a public figure simply holds up a product in a TV spot. When Apple aligns with an artist, it executes deep, structural integrations that span hardware, software, original content, spatial audio engineering, and global retail distribution. When U2 collaborated with Apple in 2014, their album was distributed directly to over 500 million iTunes accounts simultaneously. When Drake launched Certified Lover Boy, Apple Music backed it with unprecedented platform integration and custom global outdoor media. When Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, or Ed Sheeran partner with Apple, it takes the form of exclusive concert films, spatial audio showcases, and global Apple Music Live broadcasts. Yet, as the global music landscape prepares for BTS's complete group reunion in 2027, every major entertainment analyst recognizes a singular, explosive reality. Apple has never executed a full-scale, exclusive global brand alliance with BTS. And sitting at number 1 on this list, Apple represents the absolute pinnacle of what a 2027 contract could look like. To understand why an Apple and BTS partnership in 2027 would be the most valuable endorsement deal in pop culture history, one must examine the fierce battle currently taking place across the global streaming and consumer technology ecosystems. Apple Music operates in direct, aggressive competition with Spotify for global streaming supremacy. While Spotify leads in total subscriber volume, Apple Music has aggressively positioned itself as the premium audio destination, offering lossless audio, Dolby Atmos spatial audio, and exclusive artist partnerships. BTS's streaming metrics across both platforms are staggering. The group has accumulated tens of billions of streams globally, with hits like Dynamite, Butter, and Boy with Love breaking historical records for the fastest tracks to achieve multi-billion stream milestones. When a BTS member releases a solo project or a group track, the sheer volume of global traffic generated by ARMY causes measurable shifts in streaming app download charts and server loads worldwide. In 2022, when BTS launched their exclusive limited radio show series BTS Radio, past and present on Apple Music One to celebrate their 9th anniversary, the broadcast broke the record for the biggest show of the year on Apple Music One, drawing millions of concurrent listeners across more than 180 countries. That radio series was a proof of concept. It proved that BTS's global audience would migrate en masse to Apple platforms the moment exclusive content was offered. The potential scope of a full-scale Apple x BTS master contract in 2027 extends far beyond audio streaming. Consider the hardware and spatial technology landscape Apple is building for the late 2020s. Apple is aggressively expanding its ecosystem around Apple Vision Pro and future spatial computing hardware, spatial audio powered by AirPods Max and AirPods Pro, and high-end creative workflows powered by Apple Silicon. One of the greatest challenges facing spatial computing and mixed reality hardware is the availability of truly revolutionary, culture-defining content that compels millions of mainstream consumers to adopt the technology. Imagine Apple securing exclusive global rights to produce and distribute BTS's 2027 reunion world tour as a fully immersive, 180-degree 8K spatial video experience built natively for Apple Vision Pro. Viewers anywhere on Earth, from London to Tokyo, Sao Paulo to Chicago, could put on an Apple Vision Pro headset and experience standing directly on stage alongside RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook at a sold-out stadium concert, surrounded by three-dimensional spatial audio that replicates the exact acoustic environment of the venue. That single piece of exclusive content would do more to drive spatial computing hardware adoption among younger, tech-savvy global demographics than billions of dollars in traditional advertising. Furthermore, the hardware integration extends into everyday consumer tech. While Samsung held previous regional and global smartphone partnerships with BTS, Apple's dominance among Gen Z consumers in Western markets remains formidable. According to consumer hardware surveys from investment bank Piper Sandler, nearly 85 to 90% of American teenagers own an iPhone. However, in key growth markets across Asia, Southeast Asia, and Latin America, the battle between iOS and Android remains fiercely contested. An official Apple partnership, spanning custom BTS Edition AirPods charging cases, exclusive Apple Watch bands, and fitness integration with Apple Fitness Plus, exclusive shot on iPhone concert documentaries, and co-engineered spatial audio mastering presets would provide Apple with an unprecedented engine for user acquisition across developing high-growth markets. From a corporate finance perspective, Apple possesses the largest cash reserves of any technology company on Earth, holding tens of billions of dollars in pure cash and marketable securities. While traditional brands must carefully weigh endorsement budgets against narrow operating margins, Apple can structure multifaceted master agreements that combine cash compensation, equity-based performance incentives, global media buying commitments, and production funding. Industry financial experts estimate that a comprehensive, exclusive global master agreement between Apple and BTS in 2027, encompassing global Apple Music exclusivity windows, Apple TV Plus original documentary series funding, spatial content production, hardware integration, and global retail media support, could command an unprecedented total valuation ranging between $75 million and $100 million annually. Over a 3-year contract cycle, the total deal value could easily reach $300 million, shattering every existing record for celebrity tech partnerships in historical entertainment. The ultimate power of an Apple and BTS partnership lies in the alignment of their core brand philosophies. Apple's legendary corporate mantra, "Think Different," was built on honoring cultural rebels, visionaries, and artists who dared to change the world. BTS, rising from a small, underfunded Korean agency to break every language barrier, cultural stigma, and racial ceiling in Western music history, represents the exact modern embodiment of that philosophy. As 2027 approaches, the boardrooms of Cupertino, Seoul, Paris, and Beaverton are all preparing their bids. The battle for BTS's signature will be fierce, historical, and vastly expensive. But whoever wins the contract will not just be buying an endorsement, they will be purchasing the ultimate key to global cultural dominance for the next decade. 1:25 p.m. When you analyze these 7 global brands, from luxury fashion houses like Louis Vuitton and horological titans like Rolex to trillion-dollar tech giants like Apple, one undeniable truth emerges. BTS is no longer evaluated as a typical pop group within the global advertising landscape. They are operating as a self-contained, borderless economic superpower. Their military service period did not diminish their commercial authority. It proved their resilience. While traditional endorsement deals often fade when artists take a hiatus, BTS's global audience maintained their streaming metrics, purchasing power, and cultural presence. Now, with all 7 members reunited in 2027, the scarcity of their collective brand equity has driven their potential contract values to historically unprecedented heights. Whether it is Samsung defending its home turf tech dominance, Nike attempting to secure the holy grail of modern streetwear, Coca-Cola connecting with a new generation of consumers, or Apple leveraging spatial audio and spatial computing, each of these corporate behemoths is pursuing the same objective, gaining an authentic, high-converting bridge to the most passionate consumer base in modern history. As executive boardrooms in Paris, Cupertino, Seoul, and Geneva finalize their strategic proposals, the upcoming contract negotiations will do far more than break financial records. They will redefine the future of global marketing, proving that when culture, technology, and sheer artistic dedication align at peak velocity, 7 voices from South Korea can command the undivided attention and capital of the entire global economy.